Welcome to CQ Blind Hams, your source for everything amateur-related, tutorials, radio reviews, and so much more. Come on in and stay a while.
Welcome, everyone, to CQ Blind Hams Podcast and Roundtable. Today we're going to do a recap of the FT4 FT8 contest that we did a few weeks ago. Sorry it took us so long to get to the results and holding you at bay, wondering who won and who got points and all that. So we've finally got to this point. So I want to introduce my co-host today. We got John with us. John?
Morning. Or hello, I guess. For people who are going to be reading this, listening to this in various time frames. I'm John, W2QCY, Whiskey 2 Quebec Charlie Yankee. I'm in Albany, New York, and I am one of the original Q-Log beta testers. So that's how I got started in all this. And thanks to Joel for inviting me to be back on this time as a co-host. As we record this, we're in Albany. I'm in Albany, New York, and it's in the 30s weather-wise. We've still got some snow, and we got to get through March. So it'll be better. It'll be better later. So I will let Joel continue with the introductions. Be back with you shortly.
Okay, John. All right. We also have Steve with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are, Steve, and call sign.
Well, hello, this is Steve, Kilo Whiskey 3 Alpha, KW3A, just outside Philadelphia, southeastern Pennsylvania, where it's kind of nice weather day. We had ice and snow and all kind of nasty stuff for weeks and weeks, and now we're heading into the 40s and 50s, and maybe spring has finally sprung. So good to be on with you guys today from southeastern PA.
All right, I'll tell you a little bit. My wife is from Philadelphia. We're in Tennessee now, but she was born in Pine Grove and then moved to Philadelphia when she was about 25, and she's glad to be in Tennessee. I don't know where you are at, but she was tired of the city. All right, the next contestant on the FT8 is right now. Just kidding. Next one we have David. David, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are.
Okay, my name's David. My call is November 5 Delta Tango. I'm located in south central Oklahoma. I'm right on the Texas border. Texas is just across the lake here from me. And I had just recently upgraded to a Kenwood TS890 and decided I'd give FT8 a try. So I've just been on a few weeks, but I've had a lot of fun with it, and it works great, Joel.
Oh, that's an awesome radio. I drool every time I see that come up on the main trading company's website. Okay, we got one more with us today. We have Michael, and I think Michael is in Canada. Right, Michael?
Yes, sir. Hi, guys. I'm Michael, Vo1AX, and I'm in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada. I don't do the Newfoundland and Labrador thing. I don't know what that was about 10 years ago. Our premier had to get all gushy and, merge the two land masses into one, whatever. But I consider myself in Newfoundland, which is about 1,500 miles northeast of Maine, give or take. And today it's about plus 1 degree Celsius, cloudy and snow and just typical winter. And I'm probably the only Yaesu fanboy in this group, am I right?
Well, up until Thanksgiving of last year, I was a Yaesu FT450 Delta user. That was my FT8 radio. I made 1,400 contacts on FT8 with my Yaesu. So, no, I'm not a fan of Yaesu. It's just as far as accessibility, when I got hit by lightning, I wanted to try with a 590.
Yeah, I had the 450 too a number of years ago and ran remote with it. A lovely radio. But I'm now using a 1200, and it's in the process of being sold. I'm actually upgrading in about 6 weeks. And you never guess what? I'm actually taking a third look at the 590. So, if you can't beat them, join them, I think might be the order of the day.
There you go.
Okay.
That is awesome. Yeah, I wanted to flex, 6,400 or whatever the 2-slice flex is, but I was just nervous. So I thought, you can't beat Kenwood. I had a TS2000 that was my first radio, and I love it, but it was a little bit difficult to do the menu. So that's why I went with the 590.
Have you tried the SDR client for the Apple iPhone, Joel?
Say again?
Have you tried the SDR client that runs on the iPhone?
No, I haven't. What app is that?
It's called WebSDR. It's written by a guy named Marcus in Germany, and it runs on your iPhone, and it's fully accessible.
Oh, wow. Yeah, now I use WebSDR on the PC. I've used it quite a bit, but I didn't know they had an app. That's awesome. I want to try that. And thanks for telling us.
You can download the demo and go through it. And for the longest while, it was actually my new game. I used to load up the client and just play around with it and do all kinds of weird settings and demo mode. It's great.
Also good to test your audio and see if you can hear yourself on some of the SDRs scattered around the country. I know Chris out in Texas does that quite a bit. Yeah. Well, why don't we go back around and did I tell everybody how many points and who finished first or not? I don't know if I did. So anyway, Steve won. Steve won. Now the boy Steve with 258 points. Okay, Steve, tell us a little bit about. That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your setup. What did you use? And do you use QLog? That's one question.
Yes, I did use QLog, and I'm running a TS890 like David. I've had mine. It'll be 2 years in May, and I really like it. And that was after a 590, and I ran the 590S and the 590SG, and went up to the 890 almost 2 years ago, and really enjoyed it. I did use QLog. I started in FT8. I played RTTY starting back in the 90s when I had some usable vision, and when I had to get away from using a monitor with reverse colors and all that stuff around 2000 when I went total and got a TS2000, my first talking radio, and then looked for something that would let me continue, and using JAWS screen reader, look for something that would let me continue doing RTTY. So I finally settled on MMTTY, and I've been using that for 20 years. But I realized in the early 2019 that the expeditions were cutting back on their RTTY in favor, or doing away with it entirely sometimes in favor of FT8. I didn't want to do FT8. It didn't interest me. I didn't want to get into it. But when I realized that the expeditions were cutting back on teletype in favor of this new mode, I had to look into it. I started using something called DigiWrite, which is part of the WriteLog contesting software. And I used that for the majority of 2019. Made a lot of contacts, worked some cool stuff, Afghanistan and Pitcairn and all that kind of stuff. But about Christmas time of 2019, so just over 14 months ago, I started with the QLog, and I've been very much addicted to it, very much a fan of it. I worked all kind of cool stuff. I've worked stuff on 160 I could have never dreamed of hearing on CW. So it's an amazing piece of software. My hat's off to the developers and the beta testers and all that stuff. So that's the deal here at KW3A. I did run the 890 in the contest. I ran about 300 watts with a Elecraft, a KPA 500 amplifier, and the matching tuner. So that's my deal.
That's great. What kind of antenna do you?
I have a hex beam for 20 through 6 meters, and a very short, very low mounted dipole for 160, 80, and 40. It's full size on 80. Has some loading coils for 160. Overall length 164, and it is a 40-meter full-size, 40-meter inverted V hanging off the same coax feed point. So it works well, and that loads up very nicely on 30 meters as well. But for the other bands, everything from 20 up, the hex beam, which is pretty low. It's only at about 18 feet on a push-up mast, but it serves me well. Worked the world.
Yeah, that sounds like a great antenna. I know Josh, KI6NAZ out Ham Radio Crash Course. He had one of those on his roof with a little bitty piece of tower, tripod, something like that, and he loved that antenna. I thought about it. I'm really thinking about it. We're going to build a new house next year, and I'm really considering a hex beam as something I'd like to have. Well, unfortunately, our second place finisher is not with us. K9AV Clarence. Clarence, I thought he was going to be able to make it, but he wasn't able to make it. So we'll move down to third place with 150 points. N5DT David. How did you do? Rig and all that good stuff. How did you use QLog?
Oh yeah. I started using QLog just about 4 or 5 weeks ago when I upgraded my radio. I've been an ICOM guy for 2 or 3 decades. And when it came time to get a new radio, I decided I wasn't going to mess around with the lack of accessibility anymore and all of the adaptations and trouble you go to try to get someone to help you with the menus. So the Kenwood, of course, everything talks on it. The 890 is an amazing radio, and I've been very pleased with it and been learning all of the aspects of it. So Keylog works great and the Kenwood works great. I ran just the 100 watts of the Kenwood during the contest. I'm finding I may need a little more power to get some of the DX I'm after on 160, and seems like my signal just goes out there and just stops on some before it gets to some of the stations. So I'll probably start running power. My antennas, I have a tower, so I have a wire for 80 and 160 at 55 feet, and then above that I have a beam for 10 through 20, and one for 60 and one for 40. And those work great, and I'm positioned kind of high on a ridge over a 90,000 acre lake, so I don't have any obstructions, and it seems like the takeoff is really good on these antennas.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a great location, and that's that's what they say in real estate: location, location, location. Sounds like you've got a good one out in your area. All right, we're going to move on down to Vo1AX. Michael, tell us a little bit about your rig, and did you use Keylog?
Yeah, okay. Well, I run a Yaesu FTDX 1200. Well, it's been sold, so depending on what the upgrade. But for the contest, I ran the 1200. The Ameritron 1300, which I did a review on. And thanks for putting that up, by the way, Joel.
You're welcome. It was a great podcast.
And so I ran about 250 watts or so. Antenna was only restricted to one. That's my 43-foot 0.5 vertical, and Steve's probably thinking, oh, here we go again. Because I've raved about that since I got it in 2013. I ran 160 to 10 meters, and I use a manually loaded coil. I go out and switch it in for 160. So I did not use Qlog. For some reason, I can't get Qlog to work properly at all. And I don't know if it's because it's being used on a hotspot from a smartphone. I get all kinds of addressing errors, address violations. I don't know if it's the sound card interface between the computer and the 1200. I'm almost willing to try something else just to see if that straightens out. So I just used the straight FT8 program and was prompted to log a QSO. And worked some pretty good DX. I worked Argentina on 160, worked Indonesia on 20, and so there we go. I mean, I don't know if you guys have had any success with Qlog on a smartphone hotspot. That's what I'd be interested in finding out. But I'm also in the process of changing out my laptop as well, so maybe in the future I can get that going. So there you go. So yeah, Argentina, Indonesia, 150 contacts, and the 43-foot vertical. It worked well.
I'm not understanding about the hotspot. That's confusing me. You mean as far as logging your QSO with QRZ? Is that what
That's his Wi-Fi?
No, my Wi-Fi in the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, but Qlog is a standalone though. If you got a laptop and your computer or your radio, why do you need the internet? That's what the curiosity is.
For time syncing with FT8.
Oh, I got you. Yes. I understand. That could be the problem.
The hotspot. I'm guessing that may be your issue. It's the one variable we can't duplicate.
Right. Yeah. You have to get that time sync, and I use something called Dimension 4. I don't know what you guys use. Maybe you can kick it around.
I use that one as well.
Dimension 4, yeah, it works
great.
Yeah,
me too. I use that one. But yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've tried different computers as well, and I just can't. And even like Qlog has given me the impression that it was working, right? And then I got my wife to come in and say, I'm calling DX here, and I've got American stations answering my call. Like, what's going on? I'd said a qualifier. And my wife would look down on the FT8 program like, no, you're just calling CQ Vo1AX GN37. But Qlog would be telling me I'm calling DX. Have you guys experienced anything like that? Or?
No. And the way to test that is you'd have to have your wife, but over on the WSJTX screen where the QSOs are going on, you can see the time differential right there on the screen from you to anybody calling CQ or anything. And if it's more than 2 seconds off, it'll be like let's say like 0.3 or 1.3. If it says more than 2, it won't work. And I've heard 1.5 is pretty much as far off as your time clocks can be and make a contact. Anybody else got anything else on that?
I don't. Yeah, I can't imagine what the hotspot issue would. Well, unless it's a connection issue. It would be really nice if you could take the laptop to an alternate location and put it on someone else's radio and see if it would work, because that's the only variable even the beta testers can't control. Is that ever an option?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm looking at doing. I can't help but wonder if, it isn't a Yaesu thing, because I use a Yaesu SCU17 interface, and it's all connected up by a serial cable plus an RTTY cable. And then my laptop is connected to the cell phone's hotspot. And so there's all kinds of handshaking stuff going on, and all kinds of, at my cottage, I might have probably 2 cell bars, if you're familiar with the cellular system at the bar level that you have. I've had 2 bars at the best of times.
Yeah, and you're going through Wi-Fi from your computer, right?
Right.
The Wi-Fi will drop out, and you wouldn't realize it. And if it drops out, and by the time it gets time synced back, I got a feeling Wi-Fi and that Wi-Fi card or your hotspot maybe.
Well, that would be again, it's the one variable we can't control. That and the sound, the sound card interface.
You guys are using direct connects, right? You're using your USB cables and radios.
Yeah.
But John, why not? I guess you're a smartphone user, are you? Do you use an iPhone or anything like that?
I do, but I don't need to. The setup here is a TS480. It doesn't have its own sound card, so I have a signal link plugged into the computer and plugged into the 480. The QLog voice prompt, information comes out. Excuse me a minute. I'll come back to me.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm using.
What I was going to suggest is that, maybe you guys could just disconnect from your home network.
Right, and
activate your hotspot on your iPhone, and then connect to it with your laptop.
That's a good test. Yeah, we could do. I could do that.
I think okay. I'm sorry about the phone.
Busy guy.
Well, it never rings, and it's probably your vehicle warranty has expired and nonsense. And my wife's on another Zoom call, so she's otherwise occupied. That's possible. I mean, I have a Wi-Fi connection, but my router is no more than 8 feet probably from the shack computer. So, there's always the Wi-Fi would have to be off before there was no connection.
Off and on.
Yeah.
But you can connect your laptop to your phone's hotspot.
To your phone. And it would use your phone as a deferred network, just as a test.
Yeah, that's where I've got my open spot too, my DMR open spot connected to my iPhone. It doesn't even connect to my home network. And whenever I need it, I just turn my phone on, click, go into a personal hotspot and turn it on. And that's a possibility one of us could do that. And
I'd like to hear, I'd like to see the result of that, because I think most of you are using a direct connection at home. I'm not. I'm going out to a cottage where there's barely, cellular service. And I have no doubt that that's a part of the problem. And I'm also thinking that the interconnections between the rig and computer might be. So, I mean, I'm actually going to, in the next couple of days, I've been gifted a new laptop. Incidentally, we're going to be doing a special event on the 16th of March. We're going to be going out doing my Truxton and Pollux event. And it's going to be on the cell phone with a new laptop kind of thing, and a 7200, which has the ICOM 7200, which has a direct USB in, no messing around with sound cards. So I'd be interested to see how that works.
Okay, good.
That might, yeah, you've got some sort of interaction there. There's no doubt about it. I know we're not focusing necessarily on this as just a discussion only if, we are sort of focusing on QLog, but I thought I might point this out here because this podcast goes out, obviously around the world. One of the things we're noticing with with users outside the United States is that they really need to be aware that QLog is an English-based program only. Therefore, in order for it to work, you have to use the English-based WSJTX. So I think that's been an issue for some users because things obviously don't get decoded correctly between QLog and WSJTX, and it responds to the UDP messages. So there's no direct hook in QLog. There's no direct Windows hooks in QLog, which is why the cool thing about it is when you want to update your version, which a new version has just been posted, 257, I believe it is, you can simply take the exe file that gets downloaded and swap it over into your C:, et cetera, QLog directory. Respond yes to the yes, I really want to replace this file prompt, and you are good to go. It's one of the easiest installs, after first install that you would ever get. So I thought I might just point that out because and the beta testers and the users are sort of we're having some trouble problem solving sometimes to folks across the ponds because we know there's a language differential and oftentimes there's a whole lot of variables that we can't duplicate. So just to throw that out as an aside here. Perhaps that will help, listeners. We're certainly willing to problem solve. We're also willing to do a Zoom call. We'll see if we can find a good time. As we all know, juggling with the time differential. We don't want to keep anybody up late.
Right. You guys are all volunteers and it's free. So, I want to thank you personally for your guys' efforts on the project.
Well, it's been very cool, and the contest has sort of been a culmination of trying to figure out. The goal, as I think Joel would agree, was to see if we could figure out how many of the people on the users group would participate in a contest and how many are actually using WSJTX and QLog, because we don't have a good handle on that. We know that there's people in various stages of their setup and shakedown crews and whatever. So we thought we would do that. And you may have told me off air, Joel, but how many log submissions did you get?
We got 12, which I thought I was hoping for 20, but life gets in the way. But that's a good start. And then we're going to announce here in a little while the next contest that we got planned. And we're thinking about doing it twice a year, doing a winter one and a summer one, sort of like field day, but you know what I mean. And I can go ahead and do that since I mentioned it. Didn't spill the beans halfway. The first weekend in June before field day. Field day is what, the third weekend in June, guys? Somebody that knows, could they?
Yeah, it is the weekend in June.
Yeah, so if we do the first weekend in June on a Saturday, we're going to do it a little shorter. We're going to do it 6 hours, make a sprint out of it. So the first Saturday in June, and this is going to be a little bit weird, it'll be noon wherever you are until 6 p.m. So we'll all be based on your time zone, noon shootout. So at noon and Eastern time, then another hour later I can start noon Central time and work our way around like that. That way, Gina and some of the guys over in the UK, they'll be on the same time frame. They'll be noon their time, and they can work it. And we thought about, kicked it around, trying to give points if we work another blind ham. Well, Gina reminded me that she's probably only one or two in the UK that she could get, where there's 50 or 60 blind hams in the United States and Canada.
That's true. We have many more users in
so
the.
It would not be fair.
I think we have users in the UK, Switzerland, Italy, and I'm probably leaving.
Spain?
I think there might be one in Spain. Yes, thank you. I was trying
France.
to think of.
I can't remember.
Yeah, one of the other Western European countries. And did I say Switzerland? I don't think it.
Norbert, 10 points if you
Norbert.
want Steve KW3A.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
That's
I thought that would be.
Philadelphia is its own world, huh?
You would better believe it.
That would be fun.
No, he's just a big kick butt contester. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Hey, it's great. We gotta have you guys. We gotta learn from somebody.
I would ask something to Mike. I'm not a smartphone user, Mike, but I don't understand. I'm coming at it from total ignorance. I really don't understand the whole need with this. Why don't you just use your phone and sync your computer time, and then just go with a direct connection with your interface, and forget all this smartphone and link and hotspot and all this stuff. It's really wouldn't be needed as far as I would see. But maybe I'm missing some basic thing here.
Well, the smartphone is what gives me my internet at the cottage.
So why does it need to be active for QLog to operate and work? Why don't you sync your time if that's what you need, the internet to sync your time? Shut that all down and just use your direct connection. You can have your smartphone for your internet apart from QLog. Why does the QLog program and your ham operation require the smartphone once you've got your time synced?
I thought that it had to be synced up all the time to the internet to work. That's not the case?
Well, it requires a sync. Now, if your computer clock, the way I understand is if your computer clock doesn't stay synced, that will be an issue. But it only, as far as I know, it only syncs when you first open QLog, when it says time sync successful. That I have run QLog for a while, and I never hear it say it's synced again. Now I have a good Wi-Fi. I have all the variables met here. The only other reason that you would need an internet connection, I think, Steve, would be if you were logging contacts with QRZ or ClubLog or one of those.
Okay. And, I use Dimension 4, like Joel said, and I will sync mine. If I'm going to play in a contest or I'm going to be particularly active, I'll open it special. I don't have anything set up to automatically sync when I open QLog. I'll open it and sync it if I'm going to be in a contest or something. But most of the time, I just go about my business. And every so often, when I reboot my computer or when I bring it up out of hibernation, the Dimension 4 might be there asking me do I want to sync. And so it's very infrequent. I don't believe this needs to be a constant, ongoing thing. I just don't.
Okay.
Well,
so how often do you actually sync then? Like you could run, Steve, could you run like for 2 or 3 hours before each sync session?
I might not resync it for days or weeks. I mean, it depends on how, as John said, it depends on how accurate your computer clock is. If it's variable, if it wavers, if it's a little flaky, you might have to.
It's actually, I keep saying QLog, and that's not, QLog is simply providing the means to do this. It's actually WSJTX that requires the sync. So it's the FT8 program that requires the sync. Not QLog is just a pass through, allowing us what we need to to hear that. And there's also and I would have to go look at my computer, which I can't do right now. But there is also a way to sync that time as part of the properties of the QLog shortcut. So I don't have to run, the sync time program. QLog does that automatically for me.
I think I've got a faulty clock. I think we've just discovered what my problem might be, because if the clock is off, right?
Yeah, and like I said, the only way you can tell definitely is get someone that can look into the WSJTX window, and you can see everybody that's making a CQ, and you can tell the difference between your clock and their clock. It tells you right there on that list of information. There's a string of data that goes across. And the first thing you see is the time, like
time difference,
whatever. Then you see the difference, where it's 1 second or half a second, and then you see what, you see their call sign and all that stuff. But
because Joel, you're making sense if my Wi-Fi, because I leave it on all the time. Okay, so the first thing I do is when I power up the computer, it's looking for a network, and the network that it attaches to is my LG G8X Android smartphone. But if it's dropping, it's going to fool up the clock. Right.
Yep.
And then I think the weak link on the other side of that is the WSJTX program in its own right, because I think we've had issues with the latest versions, and there's been recommendations to scale back to 2.2 or what have you. So if all that's gone askew, right, I'm going to get address violations. I'm going to get socket error.
I think
QLog is going to be happy.
Yeah, I think the 2. I forget. I haven't updated here to the latest release, because there's nothing on it that prompts me, not as a hey buddy update kind of prompt, but there's nothing in my mind that says you really need to be on the latest version because it's working well. I would suggest maybe and I don't think this is going to help, but at least you'll be at the most current version, Mike, that you probably saw the prompt this morning or yesterday on the new file uploaded by Sam. So download the version 2.57 and put that into your mix there. I doubt it's going to help you, but it can't hurt you.
No, for sure.
And at least you'll have that side up to the latest version.
Well, here's a question. Were you running the latest version WSJTX during the contest, 2.3, I believe it is?
Me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Steve, what version were you running during the contest? 2.22 or 2.3?
Is the 2.3 the one that just came out?
Yeah, but it came out before the contest.
Okay, I don't think
said don't upgrade.
I think I saw something about don't upgrade until we had better change with QLog, and I just didn't. I just ran whatever I had.
Yeah,
likewise for me.
I think that may also be. I don't know if that may be the issue, but now I think Steve or Sam has caught up. And didn't you say the new version may work with 2.3, John?
I believe it might. I'd have to go look back in the users. What you can do is fire off a note, because Sam will see it. He's part of the users group. Just fire off a note to ask him to clarify that. But because we keep getting lost in version numbers here, the WSJTX version numbers.
Well,
I know I
do. We got a track for you to work on. That'll give you something to work forward to. And in June we're going to get Sam and Rich, and John is going to come, hopefully can come on with me and do a podcast sometime in May and talk about any updates or anything like that they may be working on. Or
I think that would be a really good idea. I know that in general, new features, unless there's something that really, strikes him, Sam is not about new features. And interestingly enough, I don't know about anybody else here, but I've talked to other cited FT8 users, and when I tell a friend of mine, Jim K2LM, who actually helped me get started on FT8 even before QLog, doing it much like Steve did, described. When I tell him about what we can do in this program, he usually says, in many ways you can do more than I can.
Right. Yeah, I don't use QLog myself, and there's some things I wish I could do that you guys can do.
Say, you're kind of in that, well, you got to try it, Joel. So you're outnumbered.
I know. There's just so much to do in so little time. All-Star was a big chunk trying to get that thing going, and I love All-Star. You guys aren't on the digital or analog group with us. The bridge, any of you guys have Echolink or All-Star or DMR, Steve?
All I have is Echolink. The other stuff doesn't interest me a little bit. So
you ought to try to jump on the net with us on Saturday morning on Echolink. We have quite a few Echolink.
Okay. I don't think I've checked in. I listen with D-Star though, and enjoy listening to the net. I don't think I've checked in though. And I was wondering, are you guys saying then to stay with 2.2 on WSJT?
I think I would stay with that until we get a firm clarification, because I know I get lost in the WSJTX RC this and RC that. Their whole beta, their equivalent beta test platform. I know Sam doesn't do anything to ensure that QLog works until he sees some stability in a version. He's not one for, I got to go try this version to see if it works until that.
Sam's if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, he's not going to fix it. And he's on the WSJTX, whatever they forget the exact name of their list, but the team list. He's had, and several of us have had contacts with the developers to try to get them to also implement some features that would either A, make Sam's job easier, or B, not even require QLog. If they would, if they could make this such that the usual screen reading software we use it will work correctly, then QLog would, unfortunately not be necessary. I mean, most software developers on the accessibility side would like to be talked out of a job because everybody's caught up, but that's not the case. It's a lot of times for the developers, they've got all kinds of, things on their plate. And by the way, I probably am the sort of QRP member of this group, because usually on WSJTX I only run about 40 or 45 watts, and I really couldn't tell you how many contacts I've made. I haven't looked in a while. I know I'm lacking 2 states, Alaska and no, maybe it's 3. Alaska and Montana I know of. I can't remember off the top of my head if I've gotten Hawaii. Something makes me think no, but and of course there are countries I've not gotten yet, but that's for another talk.
I just checked the email that came yesterday from the QLog list that Rich had sent out about the new update that was available for download. And this update, and even the one previous that came out maybe 2 weeks ago, was compatible with the latest version of WSJT and backwards compatible with the previous version. So
okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to thanks, Steve. Without looking at it, I didn't want to say definitively.
Okay, that's good to know. So Michael, I think you got something to work with. Has any of you guys ever used JS8 call? I just wanted to run that by you and see, because a lot of people that say, I don't like FT8, I like to rag you. Well, there's JS8 call, and I was just wondering if any of you guys have ever tried it.
I haven't.
No, I'm not even familiar with it.
It's basically a keyboard-to-keyboard version, and it uses some of the protocol from FT8 as far as the time sync.
That's
you can
right.
type
It's
out
a longer,
message.
The transmissions are longer, right?
Well, it depends on how much you type, but it'll do the 15 seconds back and forth. So you type a sentence out, it'll send out 15 seconds, and then it'll send out another 15 seconds, and it uses some of the same stuff. But it'll, instead of it just sending macros or generic information, you can actually tell it what you want it to say.
I can't remember now if that was what we talked about the other night in our beta test call, and if someone said that would work, or if that was one of the other modes that is generally used with EME and Meteor and stuff like that. So I'm not going to say definitively that that mode would.
Yeah, this is not with the WSJTX.
Oh, it's not.
It's a separate. Some guy did it himself.
That's right.
And I've heard that maybe they were going to integrate it into WSJTX, but I don't know. I've got 2.3 downloaded and haven't installed it yet. I don't know if it's got any of that in it. There's a new mode now in 2.3. Do you guys know what it is and what it's about?
I'm trying to remember.
It's something 65 or something.
Yeah, I believe again it's used for meteor scatter, that kind of.
Okay.
That kind of.
Moon bounce, yeah.
Oh no, I think it's also what's the band that's the like VLF band? It's even
2,300 meters.
I think it is.
Kilohertz somewhere.
Yeah.
On that low.
Yeah, it may be down there. And if I misspoke, everybody can blame me, but because I sometimes it's hard to keep these things in check.
What did they call that? 2,200 meters or 2,600?
I believe they do.
Something like that?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I always like to have a vertical for that.
We were kind of wondering about that the other night. What an antenna would do.
Oh, you have to have, I'll tell you, a podcast or YouTube channel that does that. And that's, oh man, I done forgot his name now. He runs around in a motorhome out in the desert. He built an antenna and built a radio, or took a radio and modified it with a converter to and loaded up a long wire of some kind and made it work.
That's a long way.
Kevin Laughlin on YouTube. He did. He's used. I've watched some videos. He's made contacts on 2,300 meters, I believe it is.
That's what it is. Yes, because there's a gentleman up here that he's got his doctorate, RF, everything else from the local university. He messes around with all of that. We tease him actually because he can only more or less talk to himself or talk to one guy across the top. But apparently he's got this antenna that's like it's 100 feet tall, and then at the bottom of it it's got this coil that's like about the size of maybe a 45-gallon drum.
Wow.
Okay, there you go.
That's what he was able to do is 2,300 meters.
Right. That'd be hard to fix a mobile up for that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The
18-wheel mobile.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, guys, I appreciate all you guys coming and being on with us. And congratulations to Steve for kicking our rear.
I'm coming for you, Steve, for the next one.
Hey, good deal.
He's going to have it figured out.
We'll be on the North American QSO Party RIDI contest tomorrow. If you want to look for me there, if you're doing any RIDI, Mike. Or anybody else?
I don't do RIDI, and I'm not out this weekend to the cottage, so it'll be probably a while. But maybe we'll run into you on the March 16th when I'm doing my special event.
Okay, look for you.
I'll post something, and maybe we'll meet her.
Yeah, keep us abreast of that, because you never know.
So what that is, I'll just give an overview if I may, Joel. And,
sure, go ahead.
It's so 79 years ago, we had a large naval base here for many years. In fact, it closed in 1990. It's an American naval base. It's called Argentia, and we had a tragedy. 2 American warships ran aground in a big storm in 1942. 204 officers and men lost their lives. 189 survived. And so our club for the past 3 years have been honoring that event. It happened in February 18th, 1942, and we run it for a month. So on March 16th, we're actually going out to what's called the Pinnacle. And what this is a 400-foot cliff where the survivors were winched up over in 1942. It's overlooking where the Truxton ran aground. That was a destroyer, and the other ship was the Pollux, which was a supply vessel. So we're going to be doing that, and we got a mobile set up to come out there, and we're going to be operating from what they call the Pinnacle, and hopefully we'll get some contacts. I mean, I'll post. The only real email list now I'm following is the Q log, so I mean I could just throw something there. I don't.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't
manage. I'll be expelled from the groups that I.
It's on the group owner. You won't have to worry about that.
So I'll post something, and we're going to be doing CW FT8 and phone. So
well, there you go. So that's all the more reason
you'll
to
get,
post
you'll
it.
get a lot.
People
You should get a
might
lot
be
of
looking.
contact.
Yeah. So if you want more information, I don't have the link offhand, but you can look up on QRZ. The call sign is Victor Oscar 1 Tango Alpha Papa. So that's Vo1TAP, and that stands for Truxton and Pollux. And there's a link there to the archive at Memorial University here in Newfoundland. And there's like a 6 or 7 chapter story, and it's about 50 pages. It's very interesting reading.
Sounds good.
I might give it a look.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else got anything? Steve? No, Steve, you're not the Steve from the Bonhams?
Oh, sure. I'm on the Blind Hams.
No. There's a Steve that owns or started.
No, that's Steve K8SP, Steve Paulo. He owns that list.
Yeah,
I get mail occasionally. Somebody has a complaint. They have a problem. They want me. They think I'm the list owner, and they want me to magically fix it. No, wrong Steve. So I always sign, if I post to that list, I always sign Steve KW3A because there are several Steves, and I don't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have Steve Matsura that he calls the net on the Bonham Digital Net on Saturday. Sometimes he's funny. But anyway, I will thank you guys once again, and I'll post the list of everybody that was in the contest on the show notes for the podcast and the YouTube channel. So I appreciate you guys coming, and good luck in June. And maybe we'll talk to you again at the end of that contest.
Thanks for having us,
guys.
And
hope to be
if you want to post that to the users group, go for it, Joel.
All right, John.
And thanks for having me, and Joel and John. And if you guys need a guest, I'm here. Shoot me off an email. I'd be happy to participate from time to time. If there's talking contesting or anything at all, let me know. Be happy to appear.
Sounds good.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Okay,
Mike.
nice to meet you guys, and thanks for having me, Joel.
David, nice to see you for the first time, and good luck with the 890.
I've
had mine 2 years, and you'll love it. It's a great.
I like it a lot. I have a couple of questions about RIDI. I might email you later.
Sure, no problem. You can do it. You can do it from within the 890, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. It's
all
for me.
We'll cut it, Angelo. 7-3, guys.
Hey, morning all.
See you.
7-3, guys.